Bernadine Ray Dorn Ornstein, born January 12, 1942, is a former leader of the Weather Underground domestic terror group, responsible for bombings of the United States Capitol, the Pentagon, and several police stations in New York, as well as the Greenwich Village townhouse explosion that killed 3 of its members. As a member of the Weather Underground, Dorn helped to create a declaration of a state of war against the United States government and was placed on the FBI's 10 Most Wanted list, where she remained for 3 years. From 1991 to 2013, she was a clinical associate professor of law at the Children and Family Justice Center at Northwestern University School of Law. She is married to Bill Ayers, a co-founder of the Weather Underground, who was formerly a tenured professor at the University of Illinois at Chicago. Dorn was a principal signatory on the Weather Underground's declaration of a state of war in May 1970 that formally declared war on the U.S. government and completed the group's transformation from political advocacy to violent action. She recorded the declaration and sent a transcript of a tape recording to the New York Times. Dorn also co-wrote with Bill Ayers and published the subversive manifesto Prairie Fire in 1974 and participated in the covertly filmed Underground in 1976. In late 1975, the Weather Underground put out an issue of a magazine, Osawatami, which carried an article by Dorn titled Our Class Struggle, described as a speech given to the organization's cadres on September 2nd of that year. In that article, Dorn clearly stated support for communist ideology. On August 22, 1969, Dorn was arrested in Chicago and charged with possession of drugs. The defense argued that Chicago police had conducted an illegal search of the car in which she was a passenger, which led Judge Kenneth R. Wendt of the Narcotics Court of Chicago to dismiss the charges. On September 20, 1969, at an anti-Vietnam rally at the Davis Cup tennis tournament in Cleveland, police arrested Dorn and 20 other persons on charges of disorderly conduct. On September 26, 1969, Dorn was arrested again in Chicago during a rally in support of the 8 men accused of conspiracy concerning the riot during the 1968 Democratic National Convention, who were being tried on riot conspiracy charges. Dorn was next arrested on October 9, 1969 by the Chicago police during a rally for the Women's Faction of the Weathermen Group and was later released on a $1,000 bond. On October 31, 1969, a grand jury indicted 22 people, including Dorn, for their involvement with the trial of the Chicago 8, and she was again indicted on April 2, 1970, when a federal grand jury indicted 12 members of the Weathermen Group on conspiracy charges in violation of anti-riot acts during the Days of Rage. However, all of these convictions were reversed on November 21, 1972 by the United States Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit on the basis the judge was biased in his refusal to permit defense attorneys to screen prospective jurors for cultural and racial bias. Due to the increasing volatility of the Weather Underground led by Dorn, on October 14, 1970, Bernadine Ray Dorn was added to the Federal Bureau of Investigation's 10 Most Wanted Fugitives list and was only removed in December 1973 after District Court Judge Damon Keith dismissed the case against the Weathermen. That dismissal was followed shortly by another when on January 3, 1974, Judge Julius Hoffman dismissed a 4-year-old case against 12 members of the Weathermen faction of the Students for a Democratic Society, including Dorn. She had been charged with leading the riotous Days of Rage. While on the run from police, Dorn used many aliases, including Bernadine Ray Ornstein, H.T. Smith, and Marion Delgado, and married another Weatherman leader, Bill Ayers, with whom she has 2 children. During the last years of their underground life, Dorn and Ayers resided in Chicago, where they used the aliases Christine Louise Douglas and Anthony J. Lee. In the late 1970s, the Weathermen Group split into 2 factions, the May 19th Coalition and the Prairie Fire Collective, with Dorn and Ayers in the latter. The Prairie Fire Collective favored coming out of hiding, with members facing the criminal charges against them, while the May 19th Coalition remained in hiding. A decisive factor in Dorn's coming out of hiding were her concerns about her children. The couple turned themselves in to authorities in 1980, while some charges relating to their activities with the Weathermen were dropped due to prosecutorial misconduct. Dorn pleaded guilty to charges of aggravated battery and bail jumping, for which she was put on probation. After refusing to testify against ex-Weatherman Susan Rosenberg in an armed robbery case, she served just less than a year in prison. Shortly after turning themselves in, Dorn and Ayers became legal guardians of Chesa Boudin, the son of former members of the Weather Underground, Kathy Boudin and David Gilbert, after the couple were convicted of murder for their roles in a 1981 armed car robbery.